Welcome to Florida Education News. My name is Dr. Tony Ars, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Mollyana Ward, a school board candidate in Pasco County Public Schools. Thanks so much for sitting down with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So one of the big things that Florida Education News is trying to do is we want to be able to sit down with candidates throughout the state of Florida and give them an opportunity to let the voters know what they stand for, what they're fighting for, what motivated them to run for office. And we wanted to sit down with you and understand a little bit about you and why you're running for school board. Could you share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the reasons why I decided to run for school board is the opportunity itself presented itself. And I knew Cynthia through real estate, who currently sits on that seat, and I'd heard that she was thinking about retiring. So I approached her to find out if that were true and just to kind of learn a little bit about what the job entails before I would make any kind of commitment to decide to run. I love being busy and active, but I want to make sure that whatever I decide to do, I can give it my all. So we met, and sure enough, she decided she was going to retire. And I started thinking about it, and I talked to my husband about it, and I've seen a lot of ways where the schools have improved tremendously in Pasco County since my kids were in school here, but there are always ways to improve as well. And as a mom who made school choice for my kids, I knew the importance of maintaining that ability to have that parental choice, and then also being a mom who struggled through the IEP program with my oldest son, I wanted to face those challenges and find ways where we can really support those families who, they have alternative learning styles and things like that. I'm a big believer in not one size fits all. So that's basically why I decided to run.
What do you think that will help you bringing to the board and bringing to the conversation education? Are there some things that you see lacking on the current board, or things that you think that can add to the conversation?
Well, I think, yes, I'm a mother. I'm also a grandmother, and I do have kids, grandchildren who are in Pasco County. I think that gives me one perspective. But in addition to that, I think what's unique about me as a candidate is that I also have a business background. And at the end of the day, it's essentially like running a business, right? You have budgets, you have difficult choices that need to be made, you have people who need to be, like teachers, who need to be paid a competitive wage. And I think that because of all of my experiences, including early childhood education, I actually started my career in early childhood education. I owned and operated an accredited family child care facility in Florida so that I could take care of my children and also bring in some income to the family. So when you put it all together, I just feel like it brings a unique perspective to the board. And I think it's important to maintain that business-minded aspect. We have great leadership on the board already, but we're losing two business leaders. That is what their acumen is. And so I think that I can bring that and maintain a nice balanced board.
And that business side has been impacting school districts throughout the state because the competition, because of school choice, is impacting public schools. You have schools closing, you have declining enrollment in traditional public schools. And some people look at the school choice movement and they blame the school choice movement for that decline. There are others that say that it's been a long time coming and that there's been a monopoly in education for a long time where private schools, home schools, charter schools weren't able to compete fairly with the traditional public school system. Where do you stand on school choice? Because it is the question of the hour in education.
I'm a firm believer that competition breeds excellence. And at the end of the day, it's a parent's right and choice on how to educate their child. When you become a parent, you're their first educator. So that responsibility will always, in my opinion, lie with the parent. With that being said, as I mentioned, we did homeschool. We did make that choice because our needs were not being met. The term Pasco County School Board doesn't include the word public, so it's not Pasco County Public School Board, right? It's Pasco County School Board. And I look at that as an opportunity to serve every child in Pasco County. Every child deserves a path, a future. They deserve to be excited about education and be able to pursue that in a way that meets their needs. Now, with that being said, we could work on making Pasco County schools the school choice, right? And I think that's the goal ultimately. But I'm not afraid and I'm not intimidated by school choice. I think we can pivot. There's declining enrollment in some parts of the county and increasing enrollment in other parts of the county. That's just the way life and business are, right? There's ebb and flow. So I think it's our job to look at different models of education, including the K-8 model, which I think is brilliant for so many reasons. One of the things I talk about is the transportation issue that we have in Pasco County. That is one of the solution pieces to solving that problem is the K-8 model. If you have, a kindergartner, a third grader, and a seventh grader, it's a one-stop shop, and it saves parents from driving, it saves traffic, it reduces the numbers of buses and bus drivers that we need. So in addition to other reasons like building community and just having that continuity for kids, I think the K-8 model is actually a really great solution too.
Yeah, and you talked about your business background, and one of the big things in Pasco County and in every school district is people don't realize how large school district budgets are. In Pasco County, it's over $1 billion. And what the taxpayers want to know is they want to know how are you going to make sure that those dollars are working in their favor? Because one of the top issues for Florida residents, Florida voters, is the economy, affordability of the life that they live and to be able to provide for their families. And they want to make sure that their hard-earned taxpayer dollars are helping them. How will you do that as a school board member? How will your business experience help you to do that? How will your experience as a mother help you to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the affordability issue firsthand as a real estate agent, and first-time home buyers used to be in the low 20s, and then went up to 40 years old, only recently coming back down. Workforce housing is a big problem if teachers aren't earning enough to buy a home in an area that they live, and they're driving an hour. That's no quality of life. So there's a lot of different aspects of serving the community, and that's just one of them. As far as the budgeting goes, I think transparency is super important. Parents want to know that their tax, and not even parents, because non-parents pay those taxes too, right? So I think the community at large just wants to know that their money is being well spent. And it's funny because I've talked to people who say, well, why should I care? I don't have kids. And I said, well, you don't want a bunch of delinquents, out running around in Pasco County, and you certainly don't want them, taking care of you one day when they're running the country. So I think we need to care about education. It's a national security issue if you really want to go deeper into it, to make sure that our children are well educated in a global society. As far as tax paying goes, we have a referendum on the table, not a new one, but it's a renewal of one, and I do support it because in the meantime, while we figure out our budget and look for ways to cut down, maybe spend better, maybe optimize strategically some ways to spend less, we don't want our teachers to suffer. As I mentioned, it's already hard enough to, so I'm just going to dig into this a little bit here. So I was looking at the health insurance for Pasco County teachers, and by the time you make an income, you pay your taxes, and if you pay for the family plan, I don't even know how it's possible to live off of that. So one of the business aspects that I bring to the table is bringing in community partners, right? Figuring out ways where our community can get involved, some of those larger companies, and create opportunities to subsidize maybe some programming or open up doors for students to go and get apprenticeships and things like that. There's just so many different parts of it, and I'd love to do as much as possible without using taxpayer dollars to optimize the systems that we have in place. And I think that the community is very open and very willing. We already have, Advent Health has become a huge partner of Pasco County Schools, and they're doing amazing work too. And there's just a lot of groups like that out there that I think are really open and willing to get involved.
You bring up something really interesting with the whole business aspect and talking about bringing partners to the table, because something that I think that has happened a lot in education is that they don't realize that those hard-earned dollars come from the taxpayers, and sometimes they spend it like it's not their money. And you bring up, they need someone, the voters need someone at the table who's willing to stand up for them and say, we need to be leveraging and are we getting the best deals on these things? I mean, you see the fraud, you see the stuff happening around the country. It's because people think it's not my money, but it is, right? It's the people's money, and you bring up a good point on that. Could you say a little bit more about how you see making sure that you're at the table, that there's someone there who's fighting for the taxpayers in Pasco County?
Yeah, well, just running our own businesses, there's no subsidies to bail us out. So when we have to cut corners, we have to cut corners. that doesn't just mean in the business, because as a small business owner, it affects your personal bottom line too. There's been plenty of times where our household has had to make sacrifices in order to keep the businesses going. So I know what those sacrifices look like, and I know what they feel like, and I expect and plan to take that same sentiment into managing and budgeting other people's money. There are definitely ways to get better deals. I negotiate for a living. I don't know why we can't do that as well on the school board. When we take bids and things like that with our vendors and partners, we should be getting the best deals. And yeah, that's certainly one way that we can save the taxpayers some money.
So is there anything else that we didn't get to talk about today that you want to make sure that the voters and residents in Pasco County know about you and why you're running?
The bottom line really is that I do believe I am the most uniquely qualified candidate for this position. And it goes back to, yes, I'm a mother, so I have that perspective as a parent. I am a grandparent. I have children in the system right now. I'm a lifetime advocate for children and families as well. I've served on boards where our main mission is to protect children and their families as well. And then I do have the business leadership in the sense of, bringing those community partners in and working together. I believe in transparency. I believe in partnering with our parents and equipping our parents. At the end of the day, these are their children that they're entrusting us with, and I take that very seriously, and I just want to do the best that I can to serve the kids and the families in Pasco County.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us. It was a real pleasure, okay?
Thank you.